I'm standing here in Paris with Gorden Wagener, who is the head designer of Mercedes. Hi, Gorden.
Hi, how are you?
Very good. Thank you for taking some time out.
As always.
We are currently celebrating 125 years of the automobile.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that interests me is, how do you keep true to the brand for such a long time, like Mercedes, which is very, very old in that sense, but still manage to innovate and integrate changes while still sticking to the brand and its history?
Yeah, that is a good question, because heritage and future are the two bases for our design strategy. So we always look into the future, but we will always refer a little bit to our history. The new CLS as well as the new SLS refers a little bit to their original predecessors, the SLS to the legendary 300SL Gullwing, and this car here is actually a little bit inspired of the cars of the 30s, this Art Deco streamlined design. Yeah.
Did you experience any particular challenges in keeping part of that beauty and yet innovating but integrating it into the new one?
Yes.
Or was it easy?
No, it's not easy at all. It's a great challenge to design such a design icon like the CLS again, and of course here we wanted to make a big jump again, especially due to the matter of fact that many competitors followed us with the idea of a four-door coupe. So with this one we wanted to make a big jump again. We chose for a very revolutionary design, you know, design leadership you have to gain, and so we came up with this new, very significant signature, with this new form language, with the new brand face, and so created a composition which will be very outstanding again in the future.
I read a very interesting article with you, I think it was in the Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung, and I dubbed it a little bit the Wagener style, because you were talking about beauty and integrating enduring aesthetic elements coupled with innovation. And one thing you mentioned, which really struck me, you talked about natural elements being influenced, like bionics.
Yeah.
Now, did you incorporate any natural elements, or what were your inspirations for the CLS or, for example, the SLS?
Well, natural elements is both. It's the beauty of nature, but it's also the beauty of humans, you know, and you have to embody both in a good car design. This is why all the people love classic cars, you know, because they have such attractive shapes we typically like as humans, and good car design always has to embody that. The other thing you talk about is more like capturing the flow of nature, and so making look cars a bit more in harmony with the environment, capturing that flow what you have in nature, basically showing that the car is very aerodynamic, very efficient, but then make a beauty out of that.
When you're designing a car, for example like the SLS AMG, what goes first to your mind, or what has to give more, functionality or the aesthetic?
In terms of the SLS, it is both, because you have that stunning proportion, the long bonnet, the cab sits on the rear wheel, which on one hand captures the true spirit of the original 300 Gullwing. It's a typical Mercedes proportion, but it also has a practical reason, because it creates a weight balance of 50-50. When the cabin is moving on the rear wheel, then you have more weight on the rear wheel, and then you have, you know, best driving dynamics, you know. And so with Mercedes it's always both, but of course I'm an aesthetic guy as a designer, obviously, and designing a car like the SLS or this one here, the CLS, with such great heritage and predecessors, it's a big responsibility. You have to come up with a special design, a more timeless design, and not just some sort of styling, you know.
How much of a petrol head do you have to be to design cars?
You have to be one, actually, yeah. I'm one, definitely. All my designers are. They love cars, they love to drive the cars. I usually drive the AMG versions because they are a little bit louder. I love V8 engines, you know. This is a new generation of V8 engines, very fuel efficient, B-turbo, lots of torque, lots of power, and some noise, and of course great driving. So yeah, it's like that, boys and the toys, right?
Yes, yeah. I read also in an article that you said when you're designing a car, it takes hell a lot of selling internally to get your design pushed through, right?
Yeah.
If you had the choice and no one would, you wouldn't have to sell anything to anyone, you would have 100% freedom. Is there any particular Mercedes or any car model that you would like to design exactly the way you would like to have it? Any classic, for example?
Well, we had quite a few ones already, which were good. You know, redesigning a Gullwing, the 300 SL Gullwing was voted the most beautiful car, sports car of the last century, and our aim with the new one was obviously to design the most beautiful one of the next century. And so this is pretty much already pretty good, you know. And this is a nice thing to work as a designer for Mercedes. We have so many iconic cars with such a heritage. We have new design icons like our CLS, you know. We have the S-Class, which goes back to such a long heritage. You fill the next gap, you know, you fill the next frame, and I'm pretty happy with what we have done already, but of course we're constantly moving into the future. We constantly create something new, and this is what drives you as a designer.
Well, talking about iconic designs then, is there any particular iconic item in any iconic item actually that you wish you would have designed?
Well, there's definitely a new iconic item which was ringing just a second ago. I like that. Actually, this is very much typical German design. You know, Apple just brought it to a new level of sophistication. But yeah, that's definitely something everybody has. I mean, that's a good thing when you design cars. You know, they're seen everywhere on the roads, and so this is why I started becoming a car designer, because it's kind of the best challenge in design you can get. You know, so I am pretty happy with that. Yeah.
I heard rumors about surfing.
Oh yeah.
You still do it?
Yes, of course. Whenever I'm back home in California, I do surf, but of course that is something you have to keep up with. You have to maintain a certain ground level of fitness, you know, and of course in my job this is sometimes a little difficult, you know. So there are definitely better guys out there than me. Yeah.
But at least you come to the beach in greater style. I can assume that. Perhaps you manage to do a pickup sometimes for your surfboards.
Yeah.
Gordon, thank you very much for the time, and yeah, keep on designing these things. And I hope at some point to be sitting in a CLS 63 and enjoy the same feeling that you are.
Yeah, we
Thanks a lot.
will do that, and
excellent.
The next report right out of the next CLS.
Fantastic. Take care.
Yeah,
it was a pleasure.
Thank you.